After my grandmother passed away, she left me 3 potted plants to care for. While on a video call with my boyfriend, Leo Shu, he spotted the plants behind me, and his face instantly paled. "Throw those 3 betel plants away immediately. Throw." Haven't you heard the saying, 1 betel plant, 7 demons? I turned to look at the potted plants. Who still believes in such superstitions? These 3 plants were grandma's, and she'd nurtured them for ages. Those 3 potted plants are housing 3 mournful spirits. Leo and I were both born with yin-yang eyes, capable of seeing into the spirit world. When we first met, this shared trait moved me to tears. Unlike me, he was a descendant of a celestial master. No matter how many strange spirits lingered around him in the shadows, he could ignore them as if they weren't there. But I would still get goosebumps, break out in a cold sweat, and silently recite the core values of socialism. One day, a mournful spirit followed me home. Terrified, I spun around and leaped straight into Leo's arms. He was momentarily stunned, then held me close, saying, "Don't be afraid. I'll handle it." That was the first time I truly felt safe. I could say that before I met him, every day was lived in constant fear. After we started dating, he gave me a protective amulet necklace. From then on, I stopped seeing strange things. Finally, I could live like a normal person. Good times didn't last long. Grandma Wu fell and hit her head at the market. Though she received prompt medical attention, her consciousness began to waver. Every night, she'd sit on her bed, staring intently at the wardrobe, claiming a woman in red was inside. I was on the verge of a breakdown. Before this, Grandma Wu was revered as the village's spiritual leader, highly respected, and her eyes could perceive many things. Although I couldn't see the woman in red she spoke of, I could tell from her gaze that she genuinely saw something. I asked Leo to help me ward off evil. The moment he entered the house, he frowned. "Your house isn't right at all." Grandma Wu saw him and suddenly shrieked, pointing her withered finger directly at him. "Get out! Don't you dare enter my house! Get out!" Leo backed away, his face grim as he looked at me. "Stella, you're being haunted by an evil spirit. You must move out, or you'll be the next one to be possessed. Move out." What about Grandma Wu? Even though she picked me up from an orphanage, often scolded me, and treated me coldly, she had at least raised me all these years. Leo sighed, placing his hands on my shoulders. "Don't you understand yet? She's not your grandmother anymore." I stood there, bewildered, my mind a chaotic mess. As if sensing my hesitation, Leo continued, "If you don't believe me, you can take off your necklace. Then you'll see things, but you must be mentally prepared." I hesitated for a moment, but finally took off the necklace. Suddenly, everything around me grew dark. Even the walls appeared mottled and aged. The malevolent energy surrounding me was heavier than I'd imagined. From childhood until now, I'd only witnessed such distorted reality caused by malevolence once. In the house where the mistress was brutally murdered by her husband and in-laws. Stepping inside, I was immediately enveloped by dark energy. Blood dripped from the ceiling, and hidden bloody handprints appeared on every wall. Now, that same horrifying sensation washed over me. I was so tense, my breath became uneven. Leo quickly grabbed my hand, looked down at me and said, Don't be afraid. I'm here. I slowly pushed open the door and stood stunned for a moment. Grandma Wu stood with her back to me, busily cooking in the kitchen. I had yearned for such a warm scene countless times as a child. Though the terrifying spectacle I imagined didn't materialize, this warmth made everything feel incredibly abnormal. Hearing the commotion, Grandma Wu turned, saw me, and immediately reverted to her usual scolding self. She said coldly, "What time is it, Stella Shen? Can't you come home a bit earlier to help in the kitchen? Just waiting to eat, are we?" My heart felt certain. This was still my grandma. Then her gaze shifted to Leo, and she said, "Leo's here too. Come in and eat, son." I rushed to observe her closely. "Grandma, this injury? I'm not dead yet. Hitting my head must have made me lose my sight, but I'm fine now. Luckily, this old woman's spiritual practice is deep." I tugged on Leo's sleeve. "It really is, Grandma." Leo frowned, confirming there was nothing unusual around before he sat down at the dining table. After dinner, I walked Leo downstairs. His eyes still held a hint of worry. "Are you really not coming to my place?" "Oh, all right. Grandma just got better. It's better if you stay and take care of her." I smiled, pulling out the peace amulet he'd given me from my pocket. Besides, didn't you give me his peace amulet? I'll truly be fine." "Yes, remember this. Even when you go to sleep, keep the peace amulet under your pillow. Okay?" "Yes, I know." Leo looked at me, sighed, then leaned down and hugged me tight. "Stella, I promise nothing will happen to you." I turned my face, wrapped my arms around his neck, and pulled him down to kiss his warm lips. "I know. That's why I'm not afraid at all." Leo's face flushed. He smiled and said, "If you kiss me next time, can you make it a bit longer?" "Depends on my mood." "Here." I laughed and walked back inside, waving to Leo, "Text me when you get home." I didn't know when the hallway light had broken. I fumbled with my phone flashlight for a while, before finally reaching my door. After opening it, the inside was pitch black. Grandma Wu stood by the window, her frail body like a thin dress draped over a hanger. "Grandma, why didn't you turn on the light? I'm getting old and going blind soon. The living room light is too bright. It hurts my eyes. Then you should get some rest early." Just as I turned to go into my room, Grandma Wu suddenly shrieked and grabbed me tightly. "Stella Shen!" Her gaunt face so close startled me, filling me with fear. "You must stay away from Leo. He's not human." But Grandma used to like Leo. She had always opposed me interacting with others, especially forbidding me from dating. "Stella Shen, if you dare to fool around with boys, I'll break your legs." Yet, when she knew Leo and I were together, she didn't object at all. Tonight, she was so strange. Why was she suddenly screaming at me to stay away from Leo? I patted her shoulder to comfort her. "Grandma, are you having a headache again?" Every time she had a headache, she would start talking nonsense, as if possessed. Suddenly, she clutched her head and collapsed onto the sofa. "My head hurts so much. I'll go get some medicine for you, Grandma." I rushed into her room, opened the cupboard, and searched for headache medicine. The moment I opened the door, a wave of yin energy washed over me. When I looked up, In every corner of the room, there were black altars with white candles burning. And on them were photos of me. Around the altars, countless life-linking talismans were plastered. In that instant, my entire body froze. I had once seen in Grandma's heavenly tome that life-linking talismans could transfer lifespans to others to achieve eternal life. Grandma was like a lamp running out of oil. She wanted to use my lifespan to extend her own. I turned around in a panic and saw her standing at the doorway, a smile playing on her lips, yet not quite a smile. "Have you found the medicine yet?" I was so scared that I pulled out the peace amulet, my voice starting to stammer. "Grandma, don't come any closer." The smile on her lips vanished. "Stella Shen, have you grown the guts of a tiger? How dare you guard against me like a demon?" I stared in horror as blood streamed from her angry eyes. Her voice was hoarse, her back growing more hunched and thin, her bones crackling. In a twisted posture, my grandmother opened her mouth wide and lunged at me, who was frozen in place. Just as her dry, withered hand was about to touch my face, I swiftly raised the peace amulet and slapped it straight onto her forehead. Suddenly, a piercing shriek echoed through the air, and the room's atmosphere became utterly bizarre. I frantically searched for a way to escape. It wasn't until I reached the busy main road, feeling the warmth of human presence, that I stopped, gasping for breath, and pulled out my phone to call Leo. "Hello, Leo." "Stella, I know. I can feel you're in danger. I'm downstairs at your place now. Something's happened. Come back here." Though still terrified, I summoned all my courage to return. But now, downstairs, the street was crowded with people, and the flashing lights of ambulances and police cars spun relentlessly. A sudden sense of dread washed over me. Auntie Wang, my neighbor, saw me and quickly pulled me aside. "Oh my God, where have you been? Your grandmother passed away at home, and no one knew. She had just brought sticky rice cakes over to our house." Seeing the door unlocked, she went inside. To her horror, Grandma was no longer breathing, so she panicked and called the police. My mind was blank. Just as I was about to collapse, a firm hand steadied me. Leo looked at me, worried. "Are you okay?" I shook my head, my voice a soft, stammering whisper. "It was me. I killed Grandma. It wasn't your fault. Your grandmother had already passed before you returned," Leo said. The police later confirmed Leo's statement. Grandma Wu had died the moment I walked Leo downstairs. Because I had forgotten to put my necklace back on after entering the house, the scenes I witnessed were the true reality seen through my yin-yang eyes. And that was Grandma Wu's spirit. I used the peace amulet. Will Grandma's spirit dissipate now? Don't worry. My peace amulet only seals evil spirits. If a spirit has no ill will, it won't harm you. But if it does have malicious intentions towards you— Leo didn't finish the sentence, but I understood. I gripped the necklace tightly in my hand and told him everything about the altar and the life-linking talismans. After hearing my story, his face became grim. "She originally intended to use the life-linking talisman on you, but her body couldn't wait for the talisman to take effect. Blood rushed to her brain, and she passed away. Luckily, I almost lost you." Suddenly, I remembered when Grandma was hospitalized with an injury. While caring for her, She abruptly grabbed my hand, glaring fiercely at me. "Don't you hate me and wish I'd die sooner?" I sighed, bringing a bowl of porridge closer to her mouth. "Grandma, can you please stop talking about death all the time? Didn't you predict you'd live to be 200 years old? You still have a long life ahead." Grandma Wu then angrily knocked a bowl of porridge from my hand and started yelling, "I won't eat! Who knows if there's poison in that porridge?" The hot porridge scalded the back of my hand, making it tremble with pain. But Grandma Wu just looked at me coldly. "Stop trying to look pitiful. I raised you. Whatever I do to you isn't too much. Do you understand?" I silently cleaned up the shards on the floor. From childhood, I had been scolded and cursed countless times. I was used to it. Grandma Wu was always unpredictable, her moods shifting like the weather. When she was happy, she would lovingly caress my fair skin. Her eyes filled with a longing gaze. When I was young, I looked exactly like you. But when she was angry, it was as if she wanted to kill me. If I had known, I wouldn't have picked you up from the orphanage. You've ruined my life. I sat crying beside the bed, yelling at her for the first time. If you're so resentful, then just take my life already. Grandma Wu heard this and suddenly calmed down, reaching out to wipe away a tear from my cheek. You reminded me, my good, most filial child. So, from that moment, she had already started thinking about using the life-linking talisman, hadn't she? After all, I was just a child she'd picked up from the orphanage. Even though I had been very afraid of Grandma since I was little, her sudden death still pierced my heart with grief. These were all profound feelings of sadness that quietly surged within me. From now on, this house would be just me. After Leo helped me with Grandma Wu's funeral, he became busy with secluded cultivation. When the previous celestial master retired, he would take over this important position. Life seemed to be returning to peaceful days. The supernatural elements related to the strange world were gradually fading from my life. As soon as Leo finished his cultivation, he video called me. After some time apart, he seemed to have lost a few pounds. "Why are you so thin now?" Perhaps practicing magic recently caused a backlash, and my appetite has suffered. I should be better in a few days. Leo smiled at me, his eyes warm and gentle. "You've also gotten thinner. After I come out of seclusion, I'll take you out for some good food to nourish you." Then he noticed the potted plants behind me, and his face suddenly turned pale. "Throw those 3 betel plants away immediately. Haven't you heard the saying, 1 betel plant, 7 demons? I turned to look at the potted plants. Who still believes in such things now? These plants were left by Grandma, and they've been growing for quite a while, Leo. Those 3 betel plants are housing 3 mournful spirits." Leo's serious expression made me a little scared. When Grandma was alive, she loved growing potted plants and strictly ordered me to take meticulous care of them. When I was little, I accidentally broke a potted plant, and Grandma flew into a rage, scolding me terribly. "Oh my God, you hurt my darling." She would look heartbroken and tenderly embrace the potted plant, gently patting it as if comforting a crying child. Connecting these 2 strange incidents sent shivers down my spine. Just then, on the video call, I saw the betel plants behind me begin to stir. emitting faint sounds of children's laughter. The potted plants swayed back and forth, revealing a grotesquely pale demon face. Its head fell from the table, rolling across the floor, its bloodshot eyes spinning 360 degrees. With a cynical grin, it said, "Where's my body? You hid it, didn't you?" Startled, I dropped my phone. Leo's urgent voice quickly came through. "Stella, quickly put on the Chillify robe I gave you the other day. I'll be right there." I scrambled to my feet, rushed into Grandma Vu's room, slammed the door shut, and placed her demon-warding mirror against the door. Leo had given me a Chillify robe for my birthday before. I thought it was ugly and old-fashioned, so I gave it to Grandma. I stormed to the wardrobe and yanked open its doors. Grandma's belongings hadn't been cleared out yet, so I had to rummage through the closet to find it. The headless boy demon outside the door began to sweet-talk me in a soft, coaxing voice. If I hadn't known the situation outside, I might have mistaken him for a lost, pitiful child. "Sister, I'm so scared out here alone. Come out and play with me." I closed my eyes and covered my ears, trying to ignore it. I glanced up and saw the Chillify robe hanging on the edge of the wardrobe. As I pulled the robe down, a glaring red-clad female demon, curled up in the corner of the closet, suddenly turned its head. Its pale face, covered in gruesome scars, pressed close to mine. Terrified, I fell backward onto the floor, scrambling away. I put my hands up to shield myself, my hands trembling as I stammered. "There's an injustice. There's a debtor for every debt. You and I have no grievance. Please don't harm me." "Oh." The red-clad female demon slowly crawled out of the closet, twisting her body, slithering towards me. "Your body is fair and full of vitality. If I use your body to return to the human world, I'd be reunited with my husband." As she finished speaking, the scars on her face slowly closed, transforming her into a beautiful, stunning woman. If I hadn't seen her terrifyingly ugly face moments before, I might have been enchanted by her. I had heard Grandma Vu talk about her before. She must be the face-changing demon who could alter her appearance at will. The face-changing demon lightly blew, and the room door flew open as if caught in a whirlwind. The headless boy demon outside the door had reattached its head. It held a ball in its hand, looked up, and smirked at me. "Sister, give me your body. I was only 6 when I was abused to death, and I'm still so attached to this world." Perhaps the headless demon was wary of the Chillify robe I was wearing, so it didn't dare to jump in and grab me. But the face-changing demon approached me step by step. Clearly, this Chillify robe seemed to have no effect on her at all. "This Chillify robe of yours is so ugly. You might as well take it off." The face-changing demon's limbs stretched out like a giant spider crawling on the ground, yet it moved with incredible agility. My skin crawled with goosebumps. I scrambled to my feet and ran out. As I ran past the headless demon, I threw the Chillify robe over its head. White smoke billowed from the robe. The boy demon shrieked in agony, nearly deafening me. "Kill it! Kill it! Kill it! Kill! Kill! Kill!" The moment I opened the door, I stumbled into a warm embrace. Startled, I instinctively struggled to escape, but 2 strong hands held me firmly. Leo held me close, gently stroking my back and comforting me. Ella, it's me. After Leo arrived, the terrible fear in my heart finally subsided. Leo pushed me behind him, shielding me. His eyes suddenly turned cold, his breath laced with an astonishing killing intent. Oh, the celestial master's successor has arrived. I've heard much about you. The face-changing demon lay sprawled on the floor, twisting her body alluringly, and slyly offered a charming smile. The headless boy demon had managed to remove the Chillify robe from his head. The charred wounds all over his head slowly began to close. Leo pulled out a talisman. It emitted a dazzling light that illuminated the entire hallway, then shot out in all directions like two bolts of lightning, striking the two mournful spirits. The face-changing demon's hair grew long, standing on end like a peacock's tail. She roared in rage, her mouth gaping open to her ears. The gruesome, bloody scene before my eyes almost made me faint on the spot. Her limbs leaped high, then she stomped down, quickly lunging to attack us. She looked no different from a spider demon in a horror movie. Leo pushed me behind him, continuing to cast spells with talismans. Suddenly, the hallway, enveloped by evil energy, collapsed entirely. Auntie Wang, our neighbor, opened her door and loudly scolded. "What time is it? Are you trying to keep everyone awake? Aren't you letting others sleep?" A second ago, her face had been furious, but the next, it turned white as a sheet. Her limbs trembled, and she slumped to the ground, muttering repeatedly, "It wasn't my fault. I shouldn't have opened the door." Amitabha Buddha. Behind us, a scream suddenly erupted. The face-changing demon and the headless boy demon were suppressed by the talisman. The female demon's hair was a tangled mess. Her bloodshot eyes maddened as she shrieked, "Big brother, someone is bullying me." I don't know if it was an illusion, but I felt the air around me suddenly grow much colder, and the space distorted, becoming pitch black. My heart pounded, feeling as if I was trapped in a sealed cage, sinking into despair. Boom, boom, boom. Heavy footsteps echoed from inside the house. I suddenly remembered Leo's words. There are 3 spirits residing in those 3 potted plants. So, there was still one, the most powerful one, observing us in silence from behind all this time. Leo's expression subtly darkened. "It's Han Shen." My entire body went cold. Grandma Wu had told me about him before. Han Shen was the progenitor zombie, a brutal, bloodthirsty entity from folk legends. My first reaction was, we're doomed. When Han Shen stepped out from behind the door, I was shocked by his height of over 2 meters. I truly didn't know how this colossal figure could fit inside my house. His super long flowing hair obscured his face, but I could still see his sharp green eyes and dry, cracked skin gradually turning green. He had bulging muscles. I felt as if he could send me flying with just one punch. Leo slowly retreated, then pushed me away. "Run!" I stood there, stunned and bewildered. Leo opened the elevator door and immediately pushed me inside. The moment the elevator doors closed, I saw a greenish light illuminating the entire hallway. Then I heard the sound of Leo's bones breaking, accompanied by his agonizing screams. I couldn't run. Only one thought consumed my mind. Leo was sacrificing everything just to buy me time to escape. He was fighting the demons alone. He would perish in lonely solitude. My legs trembled. I quickly pressed the stop button on the next floor and ran up the stairs. I rushed back home, only to see Han Shen choking Leo. He had been severely injured by the zombie and now clung to life, barely breathing. Let him go. If you want something, come after me. Han Shen dropped Leo to the ground and quickly lunged at me. Leo fell to the floor, gasping for breath. His eyes filled with sorrow as he said, "Why did you come back?" The face-changing demon twisted her body, sneering, "Don't pretend, you two. Between humans, who would truly die for love? It's all fake, especially men. Never believe them." Han Shen approached me, raising one hand. It was as if in a flash, a golden light shimmered. I was pulled by a force, flying towards the balcony. Looking down from the 6th floor, my heart pounded, but in a mere moment, I found myself seemingly floating, then gently landing on the ground. Leo staggered, embraced me, opened the door of a taxi by the roadside, and pushed me inside. The taxi driver turned around, exclaiming in surprise, "Where did you fall? Why are you in such a state? Do you need me to take you to the hospital?" Leo looked up and said, "To Lin and Temple on Mount Kudai." The driver was about to say something else, but I quickly shoved a few $100s at him. "Sorry for the trouble, driver." The car drove through the empty land along the mountain, finally arriving at the entrance of Lin and Temple. I didn't ask Leo why we were here, but I fully trusted him because he was the only one who would risk his life to protect me. Speaking of which, it was strange. Everyone said, Lin and Temple was always filled with incense smoke, year-round, with pilgrims coming to light incense and offer prayers even in the middle of the night. But now, Lin and Temple was incredibly quiet, as if deserted. I helped Leo into the temple to rest. Just as I was about to look for help, he pulled me back. Puzzled, I turned to him, and he suddenly revealed a smile that was both terrifying and unfamiliar. "It wasn't easy to trick you into coming here." Leo's eyes looked as if he wanted to devour me alive. This was the first time he had ever shown me such a terrifying expression. I looked at him suspiciously and asked, "Leo?" He grinned, his handsome fair face now even paler. He leaned close to me, and his body reeked of a foul, nauseating stench that made me want to vomit on the spot. "Didn't you say your heart was mine? Now it's time for you to fulfill your promise." He looked down, his tongue darting out to lick his lips. I'm eager to taste it. Leo's eyes suddenly glowed green, and his neat white teeth sharpened into fangs. A warning bell suddenly rang in my mind. "Run! You scumbag! You ungrateful wretch who likes to toy with other people's feelings." Leo was momentarily stunned. I seized the opportunity to break free from his grasp, turned, and ran out of the temple. If I ever believed in love again, I'd reincarnate as a dog. When I was drunk, I'd poured out all those gushy declarations of love. But the heart I spoke of was my love, while what he was thinking of was devouring my heart alive. As I ran out of the temple, seeing the taxi still parked there, I immediately jumped inside. "Driver, hurry! Anywhere will do." But the driver didn't move. I leaned my head over to look. The driver had been drained of blood, turned into a dry skeleton. Looking up, I saw Leo had already pursued me to the temple gate. I frantically leaped out of the car and into the forest. I felt as if I was surrounded on all sides. At this point, I could only take off the necklace Leo had given me. In a flash, my yin-yang eyes were opened, clearly seeing the 100 Demons night procession of the underworld. So, the mass grave. Before the temple truly existed, Lin and temple was built to suppress the wandering spirits and evil demons of that mass grave. Looking up, there were several ghost spirits in Ming Dynasty attire flying around, and several Qing Dynasty zombies dancing before. Compared to Leo wanting to eat my heart and the 3 mournful spirits, they didn't seem so scary. I yelled as loudly as I could, "Anyone who has unfinished business in the human world, just tell me, and I will help you complete it. Just help me block those mournful spirits. And every year, during the Qingming festival, I will burn incense, money, silver, and even mansions for you all." A zombie jumped in front of me, tilting its head to ask, "Assad, what's a mansion?" A long-haired hanged ghost teased, "You bumpkin, you don't even know what a mansion is. It's a big modern estate, even bigger than those rural courtyards." I was beyond exasperated with them. They were still arguing at a time like this. Can you just look at me and save my life first? Everyone, stop arguing. Human life is important. If you delay any longer, someone will die. Then who will burn paper offerings for you all? An old man in a Mandarin cap trembled as he took steps towards me, his face pale, looking as if he had been poisoned to death. He looked up at me. "Your 3 mournful spirits are rushing here. But the demon you met in Linen Temple is the most terrifying one. He can control 100 demons." My entire body suddenly felt numb. Then what should I do now? The old man counted on his fingers for a while, then shook his head. "Your fate is to be a lone star of destruction, born to face many hardships. I advise you to jump into the river yourself. It's better than becoming a meal for a mournful spirit. That's an ugly death." The wandering spirits and wild demons standing nearby nearly nodded blankly at the old man's words. "Yes, that's right. We can't do anything against those mournful spirits. If we dare to oppose them, our souls will scatter. You take care of yourself." Old Mr. Zombie suddenly frowned and shrieked in alarm. "Han Shen! I smell death! Han Shen is coming! Oh my God!" But at this moment, nothing else could bother me more. Because looking through the 100 demons at the mass grave, I seemed to see 3 fierce, mournful spirits radiating thick, black, resentful energy, approaching me step by step. The scene before my eyes was no different from a horror movie. A second ago, they were 1,000 miles away, and the next, they were barely 10 meters away. The next second, they bared their fangs and lunged at me. I had never felt so close to death. I helplessly squeezed my eyes shut, but only felt a cold wind brush past me, and I was unharmed. I opened my eyes wide. Behind me, sounds of tragic slaughter echoed. The 100 demons, fearing implication, either quickly burrowed into the ground and fled or trembled and hid in the bushes. I turned around and saw Leo being brutally attacked by Han Shen. Blood and flesh splattered everywhere, yet his movements remained decisive and swift. He peeled off a layer of Han Shen's skin. Han Shen's chest was hollowed out, and a stream of green fluid flowed down, looking incredibly gruesome. I was momentarily stunned, unable to understand what strange thing was happening. Why were they fighting each other? Weren't they all targeting me? Just as I stood there in a daze, the face-changing female demon ran up to me. Her beautiful face now wore a fierce, wild expression. "Stella Shen, what are you spacing out for? Do you want to wait for Ho Ching to gnaw your little boyfriend's bones before you wake up? At this point, there's nothing more you can do against him." Ho Ching, I had heard that name before. He was one of the 4 great zombie kings, just like Han Shen. Hu Jing had only 1 soul fragment, so he was always searching for a host brimming with spiritual power to possess, in order to merge his soul fragments and become a completely new body. During this time, he had returned to the human world, possessed a mortal, and controlled the person's flesh like a puppet, making them his henchmen. That's why Leo had also become Ho Ching's puppet, and his true target was me. He craved my body. This only further proved that I possessed spiritual power. Yet besides my yin-yang eyes, I was hardly different from an ordinary person. Just as my mind was in a chaotic mess, Leo bared his sharp teeth and lunged at me. His eyes had become completely alien, even oozing fresh blood. I instinctively raised my hands to block him. The face-changing female demon wrapped her hair tightly around my waist, then spun and tossed me high into the air. "Stella Shen, wake up. We can't save you anymore." I was like a giant Ferris wheel, constantly swinging back and forth in midair, watching them tear and slaughter each other. The headless boy demon wielded an axe and chopped off Leo's right arm, saving Han Shen from his grasp. But immediately after, the headless boy demon's head was kicked high into the air by Leo. The head flew in an arc and landed in front of me. The headless boy demon resentfully blamed me. "I, Xingtian, have never been so miserable in my life. What's wrong with your grandmother, making us protect a useless person like you?" This headless boy demon was Xingtian. So, these 3 mournful spirits were sent by Grandma to protect me. The face-changing female demon was scratched by Leo, tearing off her skin and revealing her true form. She shrieked, and the hair wrapped around my waist immediately let go. I fell to the ground. Leo approached me step by step. I looked up at him, pleadingly calling his name. "Leo, Leo, it's me, Stella Shen." His eyes, dull and vacant, slowly moved closer to me. His hands had grown long, sharp claws that seemed capable of piercing my fragile body with a single stab. He twisted his mouth into a mocking smile, his eyes contemptuous, and he tilted his chin, taunting me. If he's the descendant of Nua, isn't that a bit of a smear?" I was utterly dumbfounded. What in the world was he talking about? I was just a poor, salaried worker. How could I be a descendant of Nua? Could it be a case of mistaken identity? Then I would die an unjust death. Wait a minute. I'm not a descendant of Nua. You must have the wrong person. If I were a descendant of Nua, would I be this pathetic right now? If I can eat the exquisite heart of a Nua descendant, Hao Qing will be able to live under the sun, and his magic power will greatly increase. Whether you're a Nua descendant or not, I'll know once I eat your heart, Leo said, then raised his hand, intending to pierce my heart. Fortunately, I reacted quickly, dodging just in the nick of time. But his long, sharp nails still struck my ribs. The pain, like fire burning through my body, made me collapse to the ground. Leo, I groaned in agony, turning around. The necklace he had given me fell out of my pocket. He saw the necklace, his eyes momentarily vacant. Then he picked it up, pressed a hidden button. In a flash, a concealed weapon was revealed beneath the pendant. Without hesitation, he plunged it straight into his own artery. This series of actions happened too quickly for me to regain my senses and stop him. I could only watch helplessly as fresh red blood streamed before me. The dark energy around him slowly dissipated. 2 lines of bitter tears fell, and his eyes were still as gentle and warm as the first day we met. Stella, I'm sorry. When I woke up, I found myself in a hospital room, the faint smell of disinfectant lingering in the air. This confirmed it wasn't a dream. The nurse, seeing me awake, smiled gently. You have such great fortune and a strong life force. To be so severely bitten by a wild beast and still manage to come to the hospital for help on your own. I looked at the 3 mournful spirits standing by my hospital bed. The previous fear and anxiety in my heart were gone. Once the nurse left, I glanced at the face-changing demon. Her name was Mei Li, and she sighed, giving me a look. This wound isn't light, you know. What exactly happened? Listening to Mei Li's story, I finally understood everything. It turned out that after Hu Qing discovered I was a descendant of Nuwa, he wanted to seize my exquisite heart to help him restore his body and enhance his power. But he was only a soul fragment, so he needed to find the host. He set his sights on Leo. Leo had once fought him and was originally planning to enter secluded cultivation to find a way to repel Hu Qing. Unexpectedly, at that critical moment, I sent him a message asking for help, forcing him to come out of seclusion prematurely, severely depleting his spiritual power. Hu Qing then seized the opportunity to infiltrate his body, turning Leo into a puppet. So, I had indirectly caused Leo's death. That celestial master's successor was truly infatuated. If the puppet itself hadn't refused to continue living, Hao Qing would have succeeded. Mei Li ran her hand through her soft, long hair, shaking her head and sighing. Perhaps I was too short-sighted. I never thought there would still be a man in this world willing to die for love. Della Shen, I honestly don't know whether to be happy or sad for you. So, from beginning to end, Leo never intended to harm me. The nurse opened the door and came in to change my IV pad. I quickly grabbed her hand, probing. Where's Leo? Leo? The on-duty doctor only found you outside the door. I hastily pulled out my IV needle. I had to go save Leo. He was fighting alone in a remote mountain forest. He must be incredibly confused and scared. The nurse frantically rushed out to stop me. I ignored the pain and ran to the elevator doors. When the elevator opened, just as I was about to step in, I saw a body covered with a white sheet on a stretcher. The hand peeking out from under the white cloth looked so familiar. The mud-stained fingernails were still there. My heart pounded wildly. Leo! I pulled back the white sheet, revealing his pale face. I could even see the fatal wound on his neck. My heart ached to the point of suffocation. Tears streamed down like a waterfall. The nurse caught up and pulled me away. "You're still a patient. You can't run around." Leo, the elevator closed, and I collapsed on the spot. Had we truly been separated by life and death in just one night? Listening to the nurse, I learned that Leo had been discovered by a monk at the temple. When they found him, his entire body was covered in fatal wounds, and he still clutched that necklace in his hand. Everyone said that during his struggle with a wild beast, he had accidentally injured his own artery, leading to excessive blood loss and death. How ridiculous! He used his life to protect me, yet through others' mouths, it became him seeking his own death. But no one believed my words. Even the gentle nurse in front of me only frowned slightly and gently comforted me. "I know you've been through a lot, but there are no ghosts in this world. Or in a world without ghosts." I looked up and glanced around. It was just a small hospital room, but there was a crowd of ghosts standing before my hospital bed. There was even a drowned child ghost, looking about 7 or 8 years old, sitting with her back turned on my bed. Water continuously dripped from her body. If not for the separation of the two worlds, the water dripping from her would probably have drenched my bedsheets. After experiencing a series of absurd events, I was no longer afraid of these pitiful ghosts who had no intention of harming people. A head suddenly fell into my hand. Cynthia, with his round, unblinking eyes, looked at me, grinning. "He's just a mortal man. Do you need to be so heartbroken? Get lost." I turned around, and Xingtian's head fell to the ground. His body gasped, rushing to pick up his head. "Why are you so angry? If we hadn't kindly brought you to the hospital gates, you'd be in the morgue right now." Mei Li twisted her body, pacing the room. The ghost spirits in the room were all frightened by her and scattered. "Don't worry about me anymore. Just let me live or die on my own." After all, humans and ghosts don't walk the same path. Do you think we want him to worry about you? If your grandmother hadn't asked us, we wouldn't even care about you. Hun Shen stood silently in a corner, saying nothing. Xingtian, furious, jumped up and called me ungrateful. But wasn't Grandma trying to use me to extend her own life? Jella Shen, you're wrong. You were born with a short life, and it was your grandmother who used her own young lifespan to extend yours. Hearing Mei Li's words, this was the first time I learned the full truth about my identity. I was originally a descendant of Nua, but because my mother was pregnant with me while she was fighting a death match against the demon tribe, she unfortunately became infected with demon energy. Thus, I became demonized, gradually devouring my mother's body. Mei Li poked my forehead and said in a low voice, "Your mother gave birth to you, a lone star of destruction, and unfortunately died from the backlash. Grandma Wu adopted you out of compassion. I was picked up by Grandma from the orphanage. Grandma and I had no blood relation at all. Maya Li turned around irritably, her beautiful fair face now dark and terrifying. She gritted her teeth, pressed close to me and said, "You're wrong again. Grandma Wu is your biological grandmother. The person you killed was her own daughter." I was stunned. Xing Tian placed his head on his chest and nodded in agreement. Grandma Wu was also a descendant of Nua. Otherwise, why would I, Xing Tian, agree to be commanded by her? It's thanks to Grandma Wu that I found my lost head. Otherwise, I'd still be suffering the fate of having my head separated from my body. I had thought Xing Tian just shared a name with the god of war. Could he actually be the legendary god of war, Xing Tian? Seeing that I was still doubtful and unwilling to believe, Xing Tian immediately added, "Don't underestimate me just because I'm currently in the form of a small boy. I haven't fully recovered my original power yet, so I can only be a wild ghost. Remember, back then, I was a god of war, on par with emperors. For years, Grandma Wu had continuously used her own young lifespan to extend mine. That's why she predicted she would live to 200, but she only lived to 60 before she peacefully passed away. It wasn't because she miscalculated, but because she transferred all her young lifespan to me. She knew she would die early, so to spare me from guilt, she always treated me coldly. Now I knew the truth. Oh. Everything hit me like a barrage of lightning, flooding my mind. I was unfilial. I had killed my mother and my grandmother. Just let me die then. If I do, no one else will be implicated by me. You can't die. Now the human world is being invaded by demons and monsters. As a descendant of Nua, you cannot abandon your responsibility. It truly made me want to die of anger. Living for 20 years, this was the first time I learned I had such a huge responsibility. But I knew nothing. Even ghosts scared me. At this moment, Han Shen, who had been silently observing, suddenly stood up straight, his colossal figure seeming to almost pierce the sky. He bent low at the waist, looking at me, his gloomy green eyes revealing a seriousness I had never seen before. "Take you to Kunlun? Take me to Kunlun Immortal Mountain for cultivation? They overestimate me too much. For all these years, my only achievement was winning first prize in a Sanda competition. I, of course, refused their request to take me to Kunlun Mountain. After experiencing so many earth-shattering events, I just wanted to live a normal life like everyone else. But reality and desires always clashed. On the day I returned to school after the holidays, I suddenly noticed my roommate looking at me with strange eyes. Her gaze was like that of a predator eyeing its prey, and she often pulled and hugged me. More frighteningly, I even found her secretly watching me bathe. Mei Li, meticulously painting her toenails with my nail polish, casually said to me, "Your roommate is possessed by a serpent demon. Serpent demons are notoriously lustful, as you know. Your true form is a half-human, half-snake body. Exactly his type. What do I do now? You guys, quickly think of a way to drive him away for me." Mei Li blew on her painted toenails and calmly replied, "The three of us are currently in a period of recuperation. We can freely use our magic power. It would deplete our primordial spirits. You'll have to deal with it yourself. I just want to live a normal life now. But strange things keep clinging to me. Do I really have to go to Kunlun Mountain? All right, I'll go to Kunlun Mountain with you all, okay? The moment I finished speaking, Han Shen and Xing Tian carried my luggage out the door. They said in unison, "Let's go now." Seeing their swift actions, I couldn't help but suspect it was all part of their plan. Mai Li also earnestly advised me, "You are a lone star of destruction. And your fate also holds an exquisite heart, a profound contradiction, a balance of yin and yang. You are good raw material for cultivation. If you remain stubborn and refuse to cultivate, if Hu Qing returns to retaliate, I fear you won't be able to cope." Hearing this, I suddenly wondered, frowning as I glanced at the taciturn Han Shen standing outside. Isn't Han Shen the king of zombies? Why can't he defeat Hu Qing? Xing Tian quickly explained on his behalf. Because after Han Shen arrived in this era, he stopped feeding on essence blood, so his power has diminished. He can't defeat Hu Qing. Hu Qing's resentment is too heavy, and the resentful energy has accumulated into an evil aura. So his power has naturally increased significantly. Han Shen nodded in agreement after hearing this. Yes, that's a clear explanation. The most absurd thing was that Mei Li said cultivators needed to be sincere and devout, and could only walk there. I refunded my newly bought plane ticket, then looked at her with a wry smile. Just as we crossed the border, the sky darkened. We found a hotel to rest. The hotel owner was bare-chested, with a blue dragon and white tiger tattooed on his arm, clearly a rough character. He took a puff from his cigarette and asked me, "Just one person?" I looked at the three ghosts beside me and nodded. Yes, the owner handed me a room card. Last room on the second floor. In the middle of the night, as I was sound asleep, I suddenly heard rustling sounds behind the door. Xing Tian's head rolled to my feet, saying, "Where's my mom?" I just heard them say they wanted to take you to Myanmar to play. Those people are so enthusiastic. I was immediately startled awake, quickly sitting up. But it was too late. I saw the room door being opened by someone.